Hello, my darlings. Madam Raven here with another fabulous collected tale by Gelfwyn. We are on to number 8. Now you be 3. I dream of death. I always have from the time I was a child, waking screaming in the middle of the night, sending my mother and her husband flying to my side. As I got older, I learned to hide the night terrors. My mother knew, but at least her husband ceased his frowning every time I disturbed his sleep. No more arguments about his needing to sleep. His job was hard. Not many men would take a woman with a brat on. We should be more thankful. As I got older, I realized I was not dreaming of death. I was seeing, living other people's deaths. Let me explain. One of my dreams was a gorge with cold, clear stream running through it. The walls were tall, covered in moss and fern, too slick to climb. They ran through the gorge. The water-worn stones were smooth beneath their feet. We looked at the walls. There, a fallen rock made a small step, the place it fell from a foothold, reaching up. There was a small opening, maybe an animal den at one time, stuffing something wrapped tight in coarse, heavy cloth into it, dropping down and continuing to race down the creek. I couldn't let them find it. Then pain, feeling like something was slammed into my head. "You idiot! I said shoot her legs, not her head." Then I woke up, my head splitting, my feet cold from the water, a bruise on my knee. 3 days later, there was a piece on the news. A murder victim found in a gorge. There, behind the reporter, was a rock in the water, having fallen from the wall. One could step on it to reach the hole it came out of. Above that was a hole where something wrapped in cloth was hidden. Something worth killing, dying for. I was only 7. I was never a child again. The dreams came sometimes every night, sometimes not for a month. I was a child hiding in a closet. I was a man walking across a road. I was a woman hanging my clothes out on a line. I was passengers in cars. I was awoken in my bed. I was cowering under a restaurant table. I was walking along a forest trail. I always knew I would die. I always knew I was helpless to stop it. Some lingering, like the girl in the tree when I was 10. A creek, sand and fine pebbles, clear water bubbling over the stones, making it soothing music. I was in a tree, a paper bark birch to be exact, that was leaning out over the water. A bend in the creek. Little deeper water, but still not much more than knee-high. Early spring. The red buds were in blossom. A few early spring flowers on the creek banks. A narrow band of trees. Beyond, on either side, were fields. One was plowed, the other would be soon. I, for some reason, thought. A good day. Still a little chill, but no longer winter. No longer caged up inside. Lifting my camera to look around. So that's why I was in the tree, using a natural blind to stay above the wildlife. A doe was picking at the first blades of grass in one of the fields. Another reason for the choice of this place. Could see both fields as well as broad avenue of creek, the trees with new yellow-green leaves forming a tunnel. A shot of that. The peace, the calmness, the promise of summer to come. The doe bounded away, and I lifted my camera back towards it, zooming in on it. Oh, it was one of the Ramsey boys poaching, probably. Or just killing for the fun of seeing something bleed out. A few snaps of him. The tan-colored Carhartt jacket was dirty. Already a smear of rust-colored blood on the sleeve. That ball cap with the joke he wasn't allowed to wear at school, but did any time the teachers weren't paying attention. Not feeling too threatened, too far away to get concerned, too open an area. I knew more ways out of here than he knew in. snapping a few shots of him to show someone later. Not that I could expect anything to be done. He was coming closer, hanging the strap of the camera on a branch, dropped down and grabbed it, standing up and bending to reach a branch as a handhold to almost walk down the trunk, glancing over to see the deer rifle being brought up to his shoulder. Doe must not have gone far. Maybe shout to make it startle and ruin his shot. Hearing the shot, feeling something slam into my side, heart pumping erratically as I fall into the chilly water. I see the camera still swinging in the tree above me as the world fades away in a blur. That was the first time I had a chance to make something right. Took no time to find the right murderer. 16-year-old student found dead of a single gunshot. Thought to be a poacher's stray bullet. I knew what area now, but how? Found the local police number. Better a toll-free number. That weekend, Mom took me to the mall on the pretense of going to the bathroom. I found a payphone, a tip line. My heart raced as I heard the beep finally. It was the Ramsey boy. Look in the creek where she was found. There's a paper bark birch tree leaning over the water. Her camera is hidden in the tree. I kept looking at the papers for that area. A week later, P. Ramsey, also 16, arrested after the girl's camera was found by a deputy scouting the area. He confessed as soon as they questioned him. I printed out a picture of her from the newspaper and kept it hidden behind one of the posters in my room. When the dreams were at their worst, I would look at it. I got justice for you, at least. Another girl, this one in a large barn sort of building, metal sides and metal rafters, storage place for big farm equipment like combines and tractors, a caged area that had once held tools, I think. Only oily shelves and dusty rags, odors of dust, oil, diesel fuel, pesticides and fertilizers. I was sitting on a nest of soybean seed bags. At least I wasn't on the concrete. I was drawn in a book, an abandoned house, the windows having panes, one of which was broken, a silk tree growing next to it. I had one of the branches in my lap, the fern-like leaf, the little bright pink pom-pom flowers. It was getting dark, and I was starting to worry if I'd be here all night. A door creaked open and a tall man silhouetted, smiling and gathering my book and the branch to walk towards him. Confusion about the pipe in his hand, then pain, so much pain. I woke with a strangled screech. Bruises striped my arms, my ribs, legs, my back. My mother came in quietly, hearing her grasp as she saw the welted bruises, anger and screaming as she thought her husband had done it. A trip to the hospital, a broken rib and collarbone, a concussion. Telling the sour-faced police officer that I didn't know how it happened. I was asleep and then I woke up in pain. The eventual ruling was in a night terror I must have thrashed about and struck the headboard somehow. Her husband looked at me with angry eyes, and she looked at him with distrust. I told her about the dream one night. I told her about the 16-year-old that had been shot. We went and started searching through murders and newspapers. Took them a month to find 17-year-old Beth's body, beaten to death and hidden beneath trash in an abandoned farm building. In the background of the picture was a house, a silk tree stretching up to the sky beside it. Fern-like leaves sprayed against a window, missing a single pane. Mom cried and held me close, her heart breaking with the knowledge that she had never been able to protect me from this, and never would be able to. The most vivid ones were always young women, maybe because I was becoming one. 18-year-old Tamara had been driving down a street, Park on one side, nice if slightly older houses on the other. Huge old oak shading the road. The boys were in a candy apple red truck. The one in the back wore a Leatherman jacket, raising the brick and throwing it as they were passing her. It shattered the windshield and struck her in the forehead. I wore a headscarf for a week to cover the massive bruise. The boys were caught. Accidental manslaughter. Slap on the hands and off to college. I was sent to my grandmother's for a week when I saw my mother's murder. Years of his abuse, years of his ridicule, years of his attacks on me had been enough. She had sent me to her mother's so she could pack our stuff and leave while he was gone on a fishing, drinking trip with his buddies. He should have been gone till Sunday afternoon. Instead, he had returned late Saturday night in a foul mood. My mother died in my room with a fish knife in her throat. I awoke and called the police, crying as my grandmother demanded an answer. They tried to dismiss me at first, but had to do a welfare check. Found him trying to wrap her body in trash bags in the backyard. Grandmother looked at me with hard eyes. Your father's evil blood is flowing in you. Told her to rid herself of you the moment she found out. Father. No one had ever spoken of him. I'd long ago stopped even asking, thinking that for one reason or another, he was never even known. Now I had a bone to chew on, a mystery to drag me out of the insanity of watching my mother die. Who was he? I rounded on her with all the fury that had too long been kept at bay. Finally, she told me. A sin-eater. 7th generation and twisted to the bone by sin. How the hell did these people still hold those beliefs? Did I want to meet him? Then place bread on my mother's coffin and wait till midnight. I made the bread, kneaded the loaf, and salted it with my tears, baked it brown and laid it on the finest china plate my grandmother had, placing it on the coffin, and then made a seat for myself in the very back of the church. I was half asleep, lost in the memories of a mother's love when I heard the slide of a china against wood. I stood and crept forward quiet as I could. He was hunched and looked furtively about, hair oily and crusted with filth, clothes more thread than cloth. He tore at the loaf and chewed almost convulsively, crying and moaning all the while. Are you my father? He whirled, and I saw my own eyes peering back at me, huge and golden. Girl. He dropped the plate and it shattered on the floor. Bread he held close to his thin chest. A girl. 7, you be. No, I'm almost 18. 7. 6 came before. All girls. Only girls. No boy to take my sins. Cursed. Cursed. The fox cursed us. 7 times a boy. 7 to take the sins. 7th to pay for all. 7 to give the fox a bride. He reached out one dirt-crusted hand. Fox, take you, girl, and let me rest. And with that, he fled the church, and I was left staring at the open door he ran through. In it, a fox as golden as sunlight sat. I felt the floor tilt wildly and woke to sunlight coming through a window I had never seen before. Scents of smoke, herbs, animals, coffee. I sat up and almost fell on the wooden floor. Give your head a moment to catch up with your body, girl child. The voice was rough, but not unkind. Old and not oft used, I thought. How you take coffee? Milk. No sugar, I found myself saying quietly, fingers feeling the quilt, old and soft cotton, worn to a pastel shade by age and sun, neat and precise stitches, forming a pattern I couldn't make out. Smelled of sunlight, fresh air, and lavender. I was tempted to wrap it around me close, a mother's embrace that I would be denied for all time now. A hand helped me sit up. Thin and bony, yet strength was in that arm. A mug, simple brown glazed ceramic, was pushed into my hand. Drink. Added honey to it. You need something sweet to deal with all the bitter life it's pushing down your throat. It was hot and very sweet, and she wrapped an arm around my shoulder and let me weep myself dry. She brought a wet cloth to wipe away the tears and cool my fever-hot skin. Come now, fox child. We'll be having visitors soon. They need you, and you need them. I looked at the elderly lady closely now. White hair, a frame that looked like a sharp word would break every bone in her body. Body bent by time, but pride still afire in her old eyes. Why did you call me that? He was muttering about fox curses and brides and sevens. Aye, you'll be the seventh daughter, and 3 be dead now, working its way to you. Knows the sin eater's daughters will see the sin, what was hidden. Was this woman demented? I heard the sound of a car on gravel road. Maybe I could escape. She pulled me to my feet and brushed my hair into order. Come now, child. Been waiting a long time for this. Heart and soul are worn to a thread, and it's about time these bones found a dirt bed. Granny Tansy, are you home? I heard the voice call out as boot hit wooden steps. The door opened, and 2 strangers looked shocked to find me standing there with the old woman. Now you be 3. The murdered child, the wronged man, and the sin eater's daughter. So quoth this raven. If you enjoy my stories, my darling, please like and subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. I'm usually here Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays. Thank you, my darlings. Bye-bye.